So the purpose of my contribution today was really to raise awareness about trust as a resource in organisations and to get leaders and line managers and comms people to think about whether they want to preserve trust as organisations go through big changes or whether they're going to have a strategy that's looking at repairing it. And so it's really trying to make organisations aware that this is something very important that has huge dividends, but particularly thinking about the public sector, if it's lost, then it could have dramatic consequences, particularly around public service motivations for staff. The key messages that I tried to put into today's sessions, and I was doing two, first of all was that just because you're doing difficult things that are involving big changes and redundancy potentially doesn't mean that you have to lose trust. In fact, it could be an opportunity to enhance trust, both in terms of people that are staying in your organisation, but also people that are leaving, and maybe more important, service users. So how we treat people, and particularly the respect and care that we show to employees, really can have big dividends here, and just to reinforce that for them. So I was also looking at the importance of fair processes, to say that if you're consistent and transparent, then people will get what you're trying to do and they'll get on board with it, and that's really important. And finally, thinking about the role of leaders in terms of how they demonstrate trust within organisations, and particularly how they show care and respect. And we were exploring why leaders are really an integral part, both in terms of the direction of an organisation, but also thinking about how you manage that change. So I was sharing some information based on our recent study looking at public sector, 5 public sector organisations, and just showing that if you identified the different types of messages that you needed, different types of people, if you like, within your organisation, then you could tailor messages around what their real concerns were and just be much more effective. But also particularly thinking about managers and that getting on board with managers and understanding their concerns would be really important in delivering a meaningful and effective change.
My workshop was about the story at Sunderland and the changes that we've been through, how we responded to significant challenges and the challenges that we set ourselves. And really it is a story of what happened to us and what went wrong, what went well, what we learned. The main messages I'd like delegates to take away are to be authentic. I think it's absolutely crucial in anything that you do in an organisation that you're authentic. If you're not, people will see it and they're not going to buy into it. You need to act with integrity. And by that I mean that if you could say you're going to do something, you need to do it. And also that you need to communicate. It's absolutely critical that you communicate. You can't communicate enough. The more that you do face-to-face, the more effective that is. And also I think that you just need to, you need to recognise that you're not going to know the answers to everything all of the time, and that's okay. But you need to make sure that you're doing the right thing, have an absolute belief in what you're doing, and crack on with it.
The purpose of the workshop was to share with people the experience that I'd had when we acquired an alternative trust and integrated it into a foundation trust in England. The key messages that I think people will take away from the workshop probably fall into 4 categories. The first is, if you are going to undertake an acquisition, which was what we did, you need to be honest and upfront at the start, and you need to name it and say what it is, because staff very quickly will lose confidence if you're not honest at the outset. You need to also look at how you build on what already exists within the organisation that you're acquiring, so that it's not a takeover in the sense of we dismiss what people have contributed before. What you do is we developed Strapline, which was building on similarities, respecting differences, that allowed us then to communicate and engage with staff in a consistent manner. So all of the communication that came out from the organisation reinforced that message. Third thing I think relates specifically to the fact that if you are wanting staff to change, you have to assess their level for change readiness. And we certainly use that to support our project management of it, which ran for over a 2.5-year period. So we could track the progress of the integration of those services across a very disparate geography. And finally, I think it's around recognising that you might have to start tight So policies, processes, corporate functions, but you create a sense of freedom and autonomy as people develop and demonstrate their ability to change and adapt.
The purpose of my workshop was to look at project managers and how they can use soft skills like leadership and organisations and how they can create trust by understanding the context in which they work and also understanding how to interact with their senior management and also the people who they work with. I think the key messages from my session were that project managers can really be chief executives of a temporary organisation, and that includes thinking about how they interact with their senior management, includes how they interact with their own teams, and how they can inspire and motivate their teams to deliver more, and where their teams feel like they've got a limitation, they can go and make the argument to their senior management, and by doing all of that you can create teams that are more robust, more trustful, more integrated, and that leads to not only better results but happier teams.